Today we will do question number 1. Now, up to last week we were discussing questions from the second section or the section B, where we have to select one particular topic and answer all questions in essay type. Here we have short answers and MCQs. So we will start from 2015. Right, what you have to first do is in the chat box, let's say for number 1 A, number 2 A, number 3 B. So likewise for the first 5, send me the answers. So I'm leaving this MCQ one with you, that is 2015. Number 1, specialized leasing company cannot raise funds by way of what? A, B, C, D. So if your answer is say D, then 1D. Likewise, send me your answer for this first 5.
So excuse me, what is the year of this paper,
This
sir?
is, yeah, this is March 2015. March 2015. Okay. So March 2015. Number 1, what is the answer? Number 2. Okay, we'll get one by one. Number 1, specialized leasing company cannot raise funds by way of public borrowings, public deposits, bank loans, debentures. What is the answer? Number 1, what is the answer?
B.
A. A. Public deposits. Agreed. Number 2, a person who wishes to engage in trading of listed shares needs to open an account with a commercial bank, the CDS, a margin provider, a unit trust. If you want to engage in share trading, what is the account you need to have?
CDS.
What is really required? Only one thing. Say I am buying shares without taking any loan. Do I need a margin account? If I buy shares on myself, do I want to go to a unit trust? Think like that. There is only one answer. What is
Answer
the answer?
B. B.
Answer B. B. Correct. Which of the following may not result in the market risk for the finance company? Okay. So we are talking about market risk. Fluctuation in interest rates, fluctuation in commodity prices, fluctuation in gold prices, fluctuation in deposit volumes. Market risk.
B. Answer B.
Mm, for the finance company.
Answer D. Answer D, sir.
Answer D. Correct. Let's say not all the finance companies are in gold loan or gold pawning. There are finance companies who are not into that. Okay. Commodity prices, we are not. Right. Deposit volumes, yes, that matters. So answer is D. Next one, number 4. A financial institution may not be subject to liquidity risk due to liquidity risk, high volume of treasury bonds, high mismatch of maturities of assets and liabilities, low volume of short-term liquid assets, high volume of short-term liabilities. may not be subject to liquidity risk. You will not have money problem. What is the answer? I may fall into a situation where I will not be able to meet my day-to-day expenses. Right? So that will not happen due to one of these. What is that?
Answer A.
Answer A. Very good. Number 5. Right. So the earlier one, there is a issue. What is the issue? I'm having money, but I must have enough money to meet my day-to-day expenses. If I have low volume of short-term liquid assets, I have deposits placed with me by people, liquid assets. I don't have much liquid assets, assets that can be converted into money. I don't have much, so that's a problem. High volume of short-term liabilities. I have deposits which get matured within 1 year. Means what? I have to pay that money back. So that's a problem to me. Mismatch in maturities of assets and liabilities. My liabilities are short term, but my assets are long term. So there is a mismatch, and I am facing a money problem. But having enough treasury bonds means what? I can any moment convert them back into cash. Okay, number 5. An insurance company may not engage in. So this is something insurance company will not do. Invest in treasury bonds, accepting public deposits, insurance with reinsurance companies, invest in shares with of public quoted companies.
Answer
May not.
B.
Answer?
Answer B. B.
Answer B. Correct. So insurance companies are not accepting deposits from general public. Very good. So this MCQ is not a difficult one. Question number 1 is compulsory. You are tested from all relevant subject areas. One is from insurance, one is from finance, one is from share trading, okay, risk. So different areas and answers MCQ type. You have to select that part. Second part, short answers. You need not to write essays. 1-2 sentences is enough. Okay. State two differences between finance companies and specialized leasing companies. Now, short answers. 1-2. You need not to write essays. State two differences between finance companies and specialized leasing companies. Tell me one difference.
Specialized leasing companies are not allowed to get public deposits.
Very good. So that is number 1. Two differences. The other is the core capital is different from these two sectors. Number 2. Who regulates primary dealers in government securities in Sri Lanka? Who is the regulator of primary dealers?
CBSL,
CBSL. Very good. What are the two major categories of insurance companies?
Life and General,
Life and general. Very good. Who regulates unit trusts? Unit trust. Who is the regulator? Yeah, we have discussed in the class. Unit trust. Who is the regulator?
SCC.
Yes. Last one. What are gilt-edged securities? We talked about gilt-edged investment fund
government,
and the unit trust. Yeah, what is that?
government securities.
Government securities, namely treasury bills, treasury bonds. Very good. So that's all for question number 1. Okay. Now, the nature of question number 1, MCQ and short answers. Then it covers different areas: insurance, primary dealers, unit trusts, then say things that you have to know, right? These are not difficult, but it covers a wide area. The rest of the questions cover only one area. Okay, we'll take another paper. This is March 2018. Once again, the same format. March 2018. First go through it, then we'll discuss. Shall we? Number one. Which of the following gives rise to market risk in a finance company? What is the answer?
A.
Answer D.
Answer A. It's market risk. Okay. Now, the rest is credit risk. Single borrower, credit worthy, non-performing. Okay. Number two, a specialized leasing company cannot raise funds by way of
B.
B. Number three, a financial institution may not be subject to liquidity risk due to what is the answer? Not liquidity risk. Last time we also discussed the same thing. I may not run into short-term financial issues because these factors.
C.
What are they?
Uh,
Think again. The same thing happened last question as well. Shall we look at the previous one? Now this is March 2018. March, then the 2015 one. We have something very similar. A financial institution may not be subject to liquidity risk due to high volume of treasury bonds, high mismatch, high volume of short-term liabilities. Almost the same one.
Answer A.
Answer A. Okay. 2000, yeah. Answer A. Right. Almost similar question was asked earlier. Right. Now we are coming back to number 4. Market intermediaries are licensed by, last week we also discussed. Market intermediaries are licensed by?
Answer C.
Yes. Answer C. Number 5. Venture capitalists mainly raised from? Venture capital.
D.
D. Yes. Wealthy investors. We call them angel investors. Okay. Then this paper was on 2018. You have to get updated. Now this is 2018 and LTV was imposed on lending. Now there's a question on that. So likewise, the papers will cover current incidents as well. Okay, now this one short answer. What is LTV? And explain the consequence of high LTV ratio on the borrower. What is LTV? What is LTV? And explain consequence of a high LTV.
Maximum amount we can grant respective to the market value of the asset.
Asset. Very good. Then what is the impact it on the borrower? What is the impact it has on the people who are going to take loans?
He may or she may not receive the full amount he expects.
That's right. Then higher LTV, lesser LTV. You are discouraged to go for loans against this asset. Okay. So model answer reads, okay, the model answer reads like this. LTV ratio is a lending risk assessment ratio that financial institutions and other lenders compute and examine before granting a loan. Loans with high LTV ratios are generally viewed as a higher risk for lending financial institutions, and therefore such loans are granted at comparatively high interest rates, and the borrower may be required to purchase mortgage insurance to compensate the risk of the lending institution. Okay, so when you have to pocket out a large amount of the value of the asset, and when the loans available is less, you are discouraged to get loans against such assets. Let's say three-wheelers. If the three-wheeler, when I'm going to lease out a three-wheeler, if I have to pay more out of my pocket, then that is discouraging me to go into that category. Okay. Now, anyway, we have time. Let me tell you a story as well. Uh, I think I have not said this story earlier. Regulator always comes with rules. They want to discipline and control. But the loan taker or the party who is subject to these restrictions are very creative. That we have seen in stock exchanges, in any area. Now, first, can someone tell me what happened after imposing LTV? Earlier, we were not using this word much. The moment LTV was imposed, the government expected, that was 2015 onward, the Yahapalana era, the government faced somewhat similar question. Forex issue, foreign exchange, we were not in a healthy situation even then. One main reason was we are importing too much vehicles and a lot of our cash goes out. Therefore, government came up with LTV. Means what? They were trying to restrict the vehicle import. Right? For that, they imposed LTV. Tell me how the loan taker behaved. In your own institutions, you may have seen that. Okay? As a general observer, you may have seen that. The moment you come with LTV, has it reduced the number of leases? That was the expectation. But what really happened? Okay, let's say the value of a three-wheeler is 100. Market value of a three-wheeler is 100 rupee, right? No one can take 100% loan. Let's say earlier you can take 80% loan. Now government made it 50%. Means what? If you want to lease out a three-wheeler, you have to pocket out 50 rupees from yourself and the bank will lend out only 50. In earlier case, the bank gave you 70% as, let's say that is 70 out of 100, 70%. Okay. Bank gave you 70% loan. Now bank is giving you only 50 rupees as the loan. Earlier bank gave 70 rupees as loan. Now government believes, since now you have to pocket out more, Earlier, you had to pocket out only 30 rupees out of you. Now you have to pocket out 50 rupees from your end. That will discourage you, right? Tell me, how do you, or how did the general public in Sri Lanka behaved in this situation?
They
Earlier
try
for
to
the
increase the market.
very good. What is that? Say it again.
They try to increase the market value.
Yeah. What you do is you have to get a valuation report for the vehicle. So if the valuation report says 100, that's it. Okay. Earlier, if the market value said 100, right, you get 70. Right. Now, if the market value says 100, you get 50, but you need 70. You need 70. Okay. So you are back to square one. How do you get 70? How do you get 70 rupees as a loan? LTV is imposed by the government, but you need 70. As per the government LTV, you can get only 50, but you need 70. Then you are back to square one. How do you get 70? You go to a valuation company and say, for my three-wheeler, give me the value 140. Right? So when the valuation report is 140, you get 50% for this 140. How much is that? What is the amount?
70.
70. Back to square one. Okay. So the people we try to discipline are very creative. They play without breaking the rules. Okay. So that's how the market behave. Right. I think I have told you the story about a farmer and a planetary position called Saturn. Right. The farmer outbeat its regulator. Okay, if you have time, we'll discuss on
Excuse me,
that.
sir.
Yeah.
Sir, does that change the meaning of the supply and demand? When the supply increases, the demand increases, or the market increases? Can't you say like that?
Supply, you mean the economic demand and supply. If the price goes up, demand comes down. Right. Now here, what we expected as government is not earlier 2015 is not increasing the vehicle prices. Right. Government expected to reduce the loan percentages given to particular type of vehicles, especially say three-wheelers. Okay. Later on, that happened. How they did it? By increasing taxes for vehicles. Then the vehicle prices goes up. When price goes up, demand is less. Right? But here, that was tried by restricting or putting a rule for loans against asset. Okay, right. So what is the next one? Name two categories of institutions that are eligible to be authorized primary dealers in Sri Lanka. Who are they?
Licensed financial banks.
Yeah, licensed commercial banks, not finance. Okay, licensed commercial banks. What is the other category? When we were discussing about primary dealers, we used that term. There are institutions which purely do primary dealing. We call them dedicated primary dealers. Okay. Now, Perpetual Capital, that was not a commercial bank. That was a dedicated primary dealer. Name two parties regulated and supervised under the Insurance Industry Act number 43 of 2000. What are they?
Insurance agents and insurance companies.
Very good. State two purposes of the Microfinance Act which was passed in 2016. Yes. In 2016, number 16 was Microfinance Act. Yeah. Two purposes. Why do you want to act for a specific industry? Why do you need the act for targeting a specific industry?
To have a regulator.
Yeah. To regulate, then what's the role of the regulator? We have talked about a bracket. Any regulator will do that. What is that?
License.
Licensing. Okay. So two purposes of Microfinance Act. Number one, to regulate the industry. Number two, to license and put authority to supervise microfinance industry. The model answer reads to provide for licensing, regulation, and supervision of companies carrying on microfinance business, to carry out registration of non-governmental organizations accepting limited savings deposits as microfinance, for setting up standards for the regulation and supervision of microfinance. Okay, right. Briefly explain seed financing in relation to venture capital. What is seed financing?
Initial stage of financing for startup businesses.
Yes. Tell me one more sentence. Add one more sentence to that line. Agreed. But you can add one more sentence. A modest amount of capital or a small amount of capital initially invested. Right. Okay, I'll read out the model answer. Seed financing is comparatively modest amount of capital provided by venture capital companies to emerging entrepreneurs in order to finance the early development of a new product or service. These funds may be directed towards product development, market research, enhancing technical know-how, building management capacities, developing a business plan, etc. So the not the entire capital, but specific percentage out of the total project cost initially given to develop concepts, to do research and development, to enhance on technical know-how. So that is seed financing. The initial, the earlier stage. Now September 2014. Yeah, go through it, then we'll discuss like earlier. Okay, right. Question number one. That was on disintermediation, and that is the only question I have seen so far on disintermediation. What is intermediation? Financial intermediation. What is that? I think that is the very first lesson we talked about. Shadow banking, financial intermediation, non-banking. Yeah. What is financial intermediation? Financial intermediation we have discussed. What is that? Collecting from? Yeah. Financial intermediation means collecting from surplus units and transferring to deficit units. Here the
Unit.
question, yeah, deficit units. Here the question is not on intermediation but disintermediation. Basically, here think someone who is not transferring from surplus to deficit. Instead, maybe surplus to surplus. What is that? Basically, we are helping those who have to have more. Who is doing that? So the finance company, what they do, they collect from those who have and transfer to those who don't have. Insurance company ensure risk. A finance leasing company, once again, accept deposits, those who have, and transfer them to those who don't have by way of leasing. Stockbroker, what are they doing? Helping already wealthy to become more wealthy. So what is the category of disintermediation? Yeah, answer is stockbroker. You are not collecting from excess and transferring to deficits. So disintermediation here is stockbroker, and that is the only question I have seen so far on this area, disintermediation. Number two, a cooperative society cannot. What is the answer? A cooperative society cannot. What is the answer? Yeah. What made you silence? Is the paper difficult? I don't think.
A.
Yeah, A. What is demand deposits? What is that? Tell me another word for demand deposits.
Current accounts.
Current accounts. So that is something a cooperative society cannot do. They can't have current accounts. Commercial banks can only have current accounts. The rest they can do. Lend money to members, yes, they can. Invest money, yes, they can. Pay and charge interest, yes, they can. Market intermediaries are licensed by, again and again, the same question. What is the answer? A, B, C, D. Market intermediary.
C. C.
C. Central depositories accept. There were questions on CDS, Central Depository System. What do they accept? I said you must have a CDS account to do share trading. Okay. So what do they accept?
B.
B. Deposit of securities. Correct. Number 5. Venture capital raised from whom?
D.
Yeah. Wealthy investors. Correct. Then the second part of it. Yeah. Tell me what are they?
Accepting demand deposits from general public.
Yeah, that's number 1. Number 2. Forex, foreign exchange. Okay. Number 2, how do unit trust raise funds? How do unit trusts raise funds? How do unit trusts raise funds? By
Unit
issuing,
holders.
yeah, by issuing units. By issuing units. What is the role of primary dealer in securities? Use a nice term, market. What is the role of primary dealers in securities?
Market makers.
Market makers of
Government securities.
government securities. Right. So the model answer reads, buy securities from primary market and trade them in the secondary market. Okay. So you can say market makers for government securities. Who is the licensing authority for pawnbrokers? Who is the licensing authority for pawnbrokers?
CBSL.
No, my dear, we have discussed that. An unusual answer. We have discussed. I think I can remember at the very beginning.
Divisional secretary. DS.
Divisional DS, divisional secretary. DS, correct. What is the source of income of money brokers? Money
Commission.
brokers. Commission or fees. Fees charged from clients, both parties. Okay. We'll move into another question. (2016 September). First go through it. Okay, the regulator of unit trust is the regulator of unit trust is yeah. You have four answers. Tell me what is that?
C.
C. Okay. SCC. Number two, a specialized leasing company cannot raise funds by way of.
B.
Very good. Number three, which of the following does not form part of a finance company's product portfolio? Very simple.
C. C.
C. C. Correct. Number four, government securities are also known as.
A. A.
Yeah. A. Gilt edged. Yes. Venture capital is raised from.
D.
Very good. D. Wealth investors. What is the name of the law that is passed by Parliament recently to regulate the entities carrying on microfinance business? So
Microfinance Act
Act,
2016.
exactly, Microfinance Act number 6 of 2016. Remember, 2016, 2015 is the year this Yahapalana government came. So you can remember that. Following year, they passed an act 2016 number 666. Okay. So Microfinance Act number 6 of 2016. So you can easily remember. What is meant by effective interest rate? What is that?
The interest paid annually for a deposit.
Yes. Then we normally say flat rate, compound rate. Okay. Right. The interest rate on a loan or the financial product restated from the nominal interest. Okay. As an interest rate which annual compound interest payable in arrears. Okay. Right. Next one. Describe two main funding sources available to primary dealers to carry out their business. Okay, we have asked that. In second part, what are the funding sources of primary dealers? I think last week we asked in second area question, what are the funding sources of primary dealers? Here you asked, describe two funding sources of primary dealers. What are they?
Equity capital,
Yes,
retained earnings,
very good. Then
repo borrowings, bank
repo,
borrowings.
bank borrowings. Very good. Very good. So the answer is call money, repo borrowings, bank borrowings, equity capital, retained earnings. Good. Name two electronic systems on which equity and corporate debt securities are traded. Here you can note down automated trading system, ATS. Automated trading system, ATS. The other one, debt securities trading system, DEX. ATS, DEX. Okay. ATS, automated trading system. Automated trading system. Number two, DEX, debt securities trading system. Debt securities trading system, DEX. What is meant by LTV? Tell me something about LTV. What is meant by LTV?
The amount we can facilitate compared to the market value of the asset.
Yes, the percentage where the loan is given against the market value. Yes. LTV is the loan amount divided by the value of the collateral used for the loan. Very good. So we have some other papers to check. Yeah, this one is March 2019. March 2019. Okay. First go through it, then we'll discuss. Okay.
First one is Caesar.
Right. A party who is authorized to deal with central bank to enter into the transaction in government securities directly as a counterparty is a primary dealer. Answer is C. So the market maker for government securities. Second one, which of the following is not a feature of a corporate debenture? Corporate debenture. This is not a feature.
A.
A. Very good. So you don't have asset-backed debentures. Debentures are not asset-backed, but they are medium or long-term. Yes, debentures are not issued for 6 months. They are long-term, say 2 years, 5 years. usually issued by large, well-established institutions. Very good, yes. So big companies like banks, maybe SoftLogic, okay. So big companies issue debentures, usually issued in large quantities, yes. Next one. The deposit which cannot be maintained by licensed finance companies is
D.
D, demand deposit. So you can't have current accounts. The other, out of the total outstanding government security stock, the current threshold applicable for foreign investment in treasury bills and treasury bonds would be, so that is 5%. Number 5, the shareholders fund required for stockbroker firms trading in equity and or debt securities is answer is C, 100 million or 50% of the firm's stated capital, whichever is high. Number 4. Yeah, number 6. Number 6. Okay. So up to now we had only 5 questions with MCQ. The rest is short answer. Here you have 6-1 as MCQ. Insurance companies compensate the insured in case of certain losses only up to the amount of the damage is known as, we talked about concepts, principles of insurance. What is this? You cannot make a profit out of insurance. You can only go back to your earlier situation, no profit, and what do you call that?
B.
Others? Others? Indemnity. Okay, no indemnity will be given no for loss of cash, for loss of cash. Indemnity. Right. So the answer is indemnity. Right. Next one. So you have 4 questions. Answer the following direct questions appropriately. Name 4 market intermediaries which are required to be registered under the SEC. Okay. So what are the market intermediaries? Tell me some examples of market intermediaries. We discussed this last week as well. What are the institutions that coming under the purview of SEC? Market intermediaries, who are they?
Invest managers, margin
Okay.
providers,
Okay.
underwriters.
Mhm. Credit rating agencies. Okay. So the answer
Clearing
is
houses.
yeah, margin providers, investment managers, stock dealers, unit trust management companies, stock brokers, credit rating agencies, and underwriters. Okay. So your attempt is good. Briefly explain what is a secure transaction register. Right. So the secure transaction register is a register, either electronic or hard copy, in which secured creditors financial institutions, leasing companies, and private lenders can give notice of their security interest in the movable goods of an enterprise or individual. Accordingly, this register provides best interest of each purchaser to ensure that the goods that they are about to purchase are free of prior security interest registered by another party. Okay. Then list the documents and information that are required to be provided by a licensed bank or licensed finance company to get registered as a finance leasing establishment. Okay. So number one, a certified copy of the license issued by the monetary board to operate as a bank or a finance company. Number two, certified copy of operating manual. Number three, financial projections for leasing operation for the first 3 years of operation. Evidence of expertise available to handle leasing operation. Right, so you are going to start up a leasing company for the very first time. Now, what do you want to provide? Right. So documents that have to be provided to do this leasing establishment. Let's say Richard P's company is owned by finally Dr. Sena Yaddahi and his team. And Richard P's company is interested in having a finance company. So they start up a company. When they start up, they have to go to the central bank and say, okay, we have these things in place. Right. So what are they? Evidence of expertise available to handle leasing operations. Here comes a man who we are going to appoint as CEO, and he has been in this leasing industry for this much of years in these capacities. I'm showing that. Then the financial projection for leasing operation for the first 3 years of operation. Okay. So under our arm, we have this much of subsidiaries, this much of employees, and we are confident that we can do this much of leases to our customer base plus our employees. And we will do business to the general public as well. A certified copy of operational manual. This is how we are going to run our business. A certified copy of the license issued by the monetary board. Here, this is the license we obtained from monetary board of central bank. Last one, what is meant by capital buffer? A capital buffer is a reserve of a fund that banks have to create in normal times to be used for offsetting losses during periods of stress. This was introduced to improve the ability of banks to withstand against adverse economic conditions. Like the grasshopper and the ant. The ant works hard on sunny days to ensure its food is available during rainy season. So that is the buffer stock. Right? So the answer is capital buffer is a reserve or a fund that banks have to create in normal times. Okay, so it's when it's normal time, when it's sunny days, you have to have a reserve, capital reserve or a fund. Why do you want this? When there are bad times, to set off the losses. This was introduced to improve the ability of banks to withstand against adverse economic conditions. Now you know what is meant by adverse economic conditions. Okay? So there are times like COVID-19, 2 odd years, we were not in full operational mode, but still we are surviving. Okay. And in many institutions where employees' salaries were cut down, there are other institutions where salaries were not even touched. Why? Because they have capital reserves. Think about countries. Countries also have reserves, and some countries run out of reserves. Okay, so grasshoppers will have hard time, but not ants. Okay, so we have one more question paper left, if I'm not mistaken. (2015) September. Okay, go through it, then we'll discuss. Right. Number one, funding sources of a leasing company do not include. Tell me the answer. A. Deposits. You can't accept deposits. An investment banker. Investment bank, yeah, D, provides money blocking. Yes, D. Number 3, LTV at 80% helps manage credit risk in, okay, it's like this. 80% LTV means what? If something is valued 100, I can give 80% as loan. That will help to manage credit risk in pawning. Will it happen in pawning?
Yes.
That's, yes, it happens. Finance leasing, does it happen? Now don't tell me 80. Now 80 is just a mark given. Can in finance industry LTV will help to manage credit risk? Are you going to give away 100 or 80%? I'm giving only 80 instead of 100. Is it managing risk?
Yes.
Yes. Mortgages, I'm going to mortgage properties. Instead of giving 100%, I'm giving a percentage, say 80. Is it helping to manage credit risk in mortgages?
Yes.
Yes. Then what is the answer?
D.
D. Very good.
Excuse me, sir.
Now, yeah.
If the answer B was operating lease, what will be the answer?
Operating lease. Yeah, the same. The same. Right? If it's operating lease instead of finance leasing. In finance leasing and operating leasing, what is the difference? Under finance lease, asset can be transferred to the loan taker. In operating lease, asset is never transferred. Right? But still, when I'm giving an operating leasing asset, I'm undertaking a risk. Okay. Then the value, out of the value, if I'm giving 100% as loan, then customer is happy. When I'm reducing, say I'm giving a loan only 50, balance you have to upfront give it to me. I'm discouraging that. Same answer is all about. Okay, next, the regulator of
So
government
excuse me, what is the answer for third one? Is it B or D? The
third one.
third one.
Answer is D, all above.
All
Say
above.
all above. Why? For pawning, when you impose LTV, it helps to manage credit risk, right? If you don't have LTV, if I'm giving 100% to gold at this bubble, when the market decline, I'm in trouble. So I'm not giving 100% to pawning, right? Leasing. See here, the vehicle market has gone substantially up. Now it seems to be on decline side. Okay. So if I'm giving 100% loan, I'm at a risk. So when I'm putting LTV, I'm managing the risk. Properties. When the property market goes up, if I give 100%, if the market price comes down, I'm at a problem. So whenever I'm putting LTV, any of these areas, I am managing my credit risk. Okay. Right. Next, the regulator of government securities market is
B.
B, SEC. One minute. We are not talking about market intermediaries. The regulator of government securities market. Government securities.
C, central bank.
C, central bank. Sorry, central bank. Okay. We are not talking about market securities. We are talking about government securities. Okay. Number 5. If a primary dealer offers a yield to maturity on treasury bond lower than the bond coupon rate, the price of a bond is now par means the same value. Okay. Above par means above the mentioned value. Below par means below the mentioned value. If a primary dealer offers and yield to maturity on a treasury bond lower than the bond's coupon rate, the price of the bond is above par. Right. Number 6. What is the business of a margin provider in securities market? What is the business?
To facilitate purchasing of shares
Shares.
by
Very good. by mortgaging or securitizing existing share portfolio. Agreed. What is the role of loss adjusters in insurance? Loss adjusters, what is their role? Right? So loss adjusters' duty is to check whether what has caused this loss and whether this cause is covered under the insurance policy. I told you when we were discussing about insurance, when tsunami hit Sri Lanka, we have not even heard the term tsunami, and most of the vehicles got damaged. Then some came up with flood. They had flood cover, and they said, okay, we have flood cover, give us our insurance claim, honor our insurance claim. Insurance companies showed you have not signed up for tsunami cover, therefore we are not liable to pay you. Right? So that kind of finding is done by loss adjusters. The model answer reads, establish the cause of loss and to see if it is covered by the insurance policy. So that is the loss adjuster. What is meant by effective interest rate? What is meant by effective interest rate? Okay, so interest rate on a loan or a financial product restated from the nominal interest with annual compound interest payable in arrears. What is meant by down payment in leasing? Down payment in leasing. Yeah. Amount to be paid to the lessor, amount to be paid to the bank by the customer. Okay, so the amount to be paid to the lessor by the lessee before the leased asset is released to the lessee. Okay, so the amount, the initial amount that has to be paid to the bank by the customer before using the vehicle, that is down payment. What is the service of book running? Maintain the books of securities sold by an underwriter. That is called, so maintaining of books by an underwriter is called book running. Then last one, March 2016. Once again, first go through it, then we'll discuss. Okay. Answer the following MCQs. Which of the following are deposited in the CD, central depository of the central bank? Central bank.
C.
C. Government securities. Number 2. Which of the following may cause credit risk for the finance company?
C.
C. This time, not the market risk, this time credit risk. Credit worthiness of the borrower. C. Number 3. Which of the following institutions are not allowed by law to mobilize deposits? Yeah.
C.
C. Specialized leasing companies. The regulator of insurance companies. Now, this is 2016. right? So in 2016, you call them IBSL, right? Insurance Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka now. So here the answer is C. Number 5, the market makers for government securities are
C.
C, primary dealers. Under which law the financial institutions get licensed to carry out their pawn broking business?
Number 3 of 1942.
Yeah. Pawnbrokers Ordinance. Right. Agreed. Then number 7, who regulates cooperative societies? Who regulates
Commissioner,
Commission of
Commissioner of Cooperative Development.
okay, Department of Cooperative Development within bracket Commission of Cooperative Development. What is meant by solvency ratio? Okay, a measure of a company's ability to service debts expressed as a percentage. It is calculated by adding the company's post-tax net profit and non-cash expenses, example depreciation, and dividing the sum by quantity of long-term, short-term liabilities. The resulting amount is expressed as a percentage. Okay, so your profit, okay, net profit after tax plus non-cash expenses like depreciation divided by long-term and short-term liabilities, we call that your solvency ratio. What is the difference between a finance lease and operating lease?
At the end of the payments of finance lease, the
There's
lessee.
option. There's option. Yeah, use that word. There's option to transfer the ownership. But for operating lease, there is no such option. Let's see the model answer. Operating lease is a lease in which all risks and rewards related to asset ownership remains with the lessor for the leased asset. Okay, ownership remains with the lessor. That is the answer. The asset is returned by the lessee after using it for lease term agreed upon. In a financial lease, the risk rewards relating to ownership of asset lease are transferred to the lessee. And theoretically, there's option to transfer. Okay, even under finance lease, there is no automatic thing called transfer, but there is option for transfer. As a practice, we transfer. The other one, why is the non-banking financial sector considered as shadow banking? Yeah, that was the only question I have seen on shadow banking. Yeah, what is shadow banking? Why are they called shadow banks?
Because they can't hold demand deposit.
Yeah, shadow banking is referred mainly to non-bank financial institutions that engage functions similar to banks. So you have to use the term similar to banks, but cannot but cannot engage in demand deposits. Okay. Then, yeah, hope this is the last one. Yes. Go through it, then we'll discuss. Okay. Which of the following gives a risk to market risk in a finance company?
A.
Yeah. A. Specialized leasing
So
company cannot
excuse me,
pledge.
what is this paper, sir? This is
I
another
think
one.
I think we have done it. We'll see 2018 September. We'll see. This is March 2018. March 2018. Have you done March 2018? March 2018.
Yes, I think we have done this.
Done. Yes, we have done it. March 2018, we did it. Yes. Yeah. (2014), maybe this one. Yeah, March 2018, we have done. Okay, so we have come to the end of the set of sessions. Okay, so we started initially describing what is financial intermediation, what is meant by NBFI, what is called shadow banking. Okay, and shadow banking is a term by McCulley. Then we talked about little bit on credit evaluation, Campari. That area is not for exams, as I said, but for your general practical knowledge. Then we directly went for products, insurance. We talked a lot of theoretical areas under insurance. Then we went to stock market. We talked about different types of stock trading styles, fundamental, technical analysis, and we looked into margin trading, that area. Then we went to venture capital. Then we said, okay, venture capital is very popular in certain countries, but not in Sri Lanka. And we took some examples, Steve Jobs and Mike Makula, how they developed their businesses. And we said Mike Makula would have become the world richest man if he held all the Apple shares. But that is not what venture capitalists do. They enter into a business with the exit plan. So within 3 to 5 years, 3 to 7 years, they want to exit. They don't want to remain as owners forever. That's venture capital. Then we talked about primary dealers, unit trusts, right? And then we started to talk about leasing, operating lease, right? Then we talked about pawning. In a law notes, we talked about cooperative societies as well as microfinance. Then we came to questions. When we are doing questions, we first do corporate governance. Corporate governance is an area often tested. After doing corporate governance, we went to capital adequacy ratios. We talked about why capital adequacy is required, Basel, that side. Then we looked into some other directions on finance companies. And I showed you in the web the recent moratorium related. After that, we started doing question and answer session. Right? We covered almost all the areas relevant for exam. And today we did question number 1 from 5 different papers. Now we are at the end of our non-banking financial business subject. Okay. From one side, you have gathered enough knowledge to pass the exam. The other side, you have obtained important information where you can start practicing. Okay. We talked about venture capital, we talked about pawning, we talked about stock trading, so many things. I showed you the importance of getting updated. Say you buy Daily FT or Financial Times, maybe Sunday Times on Sundays, go through the economic sector, get updated. Okay, let's say unit trusts, how they are trading, what are the names of unit trusts. So if you go to Daily FT, there is one complete page showing you the yesterday's CSC situation, forex situation. Okay, you must always get updated. If you are interested, you can gather information and develop your own way of predicting. Then you can think about, okay, this is Sri Lanka and this is our capital market, this is our banking sectors, this is how the rules are coming, this is how the rules are set. Okay, so we have retirement stages, then for directors, fitness and propriety, the age limit. Then we find from one side, the people live longer years than earlier. So even for directors, now you can go even up to 75 with special approval. At the same time, the other aspect, succession plan. You have to develop a succession plan. And we can see in certain companies, they seems to be very young and very efficient. And certain companies, let's say in Colombo Stock Exchange, you will find a lot of listed companies where certain family related businesses want to extend the age of directors. So they come with a solution to the shareholders and extend the age. And these companies sometimes just dry out of the market. For an example, Kalamasu, Ceylon Printers, these companies, the employees all grew old without adding new products. There was a company called Kalamasu, and we used to buy ledger books and ledger papers those days from Kalamasu. Today, nobody wants even to look at ledger sheets, physical ledger sheets. We have computers. And whenever we want to buy typewriters, we went to Kalamasu. And finally, now these things are becoming out of date. No one want ledger books, but still Kalamasu was printing that. Kalamasu is a listed company then in Colombo Stock Exchange. Right? Then we used to buy typewriters, Olympia and all these brands from Kalamasu. Slowly, we gave up purchasing typewriters and moved into computers. Finally, the last product which purchased them from them was cash counters, cash counting machines. All of a sudden, the cash counting machines became digital, no more analogs. And Kalamos was only buying analogs. And we had no further business with them. Right? So we have seen certain companies, certain products dying. And we have seen certain products coming up, capturing market very fast. Means what? Corporate governance include all these. There must be a succession plan, like the young people of your caliber. Okay, the way you think, the way you do marketing, the way you shop around is different. And if we cannot adjust to that, then we are gone. We have to disappear. Right? Therefore, there must be succession plan, age limits, new blood should come in. At the same time, controlling aspect must be there. Since you have your exam scheduled on January, you may have some good time to watch some movies. There is a very good movie, Rogue Trader. Okay, it's about a real incident. There was a bank called Barring Bank, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 years old bank, very old bank. Okay, this bank collapsed. Why? Now, from one angle, I'm showing you, if we keep too many old people, what happened to that institution, like Kalamasu? On the other hand, if we don't have any controlling aspect and leave the inexperienced to run the business, they may shut down the business in no time. Okay, so this is why you must have internal audits, controls in place. Okay, now today I have time to tell you this story as well. There's a bank called Barring Bank, and the chairman says, we have been doing business in a very conventional and a traditional manner. We have been recruiting people from those who have gone to the same set of schools, those who have done the same set of degrees, and those who have passed out from the same type of universities. But the world is changing. We have to recruit new people. So with this intention, chairman is interviewing employees. So in this movie, the young person come with the plaster on his nose to the interview. Then the chairman asks, okay, why do you have plaster? He said, yesterday I went to night club and we had a problem and I hit someone hit me. And that's enough. Chairman recruit him. His name is Nick Leeson. Okay. So Nick Leeson was recruited purely because he's a different person, representing the young. Okay, and Chairman always allowed him to take risky businesses, and he proved his mettle. He was from London. He was transferred to Singapore. From Singapore, he was transferred to initially to Indonesia. Then he was transferred back to Singapore. Singapore is a country where rules and regulations are very strict. So he was even jailed in Singapore for some indecent activities at nightclubs. Means what? That is his character. But Chairman was loving this new blood, and Nick Leeson was making very high profit in this country. In one time, more than 50% of the profit of barring banks is coming from the Singapore business of headed by Nick Leeson. And finally, the entire company profit is depending upon the unit Nick Leeson was looking after. 3 times, auditors come from London to audit this Singapore operation. 3 times, Nick Leeson called the chairman and the audit team. They pack the bags and go back to London. On one fine day, Nick Leeson was on a vacation and he was reading a newspaper. He was in Malaysia then. Okay. He found barring banks has collapsed. And the reason is its Singapore operations. Now he knows he can't go to Singapore. He can't go to London. He get into a plane and go to Germany. In Germany, he was arrested and sent to London. Right? Why? Because controls were not in place. Nick Leeson was he was free enough to take his own decisions. That's not how banks and finance companies work. You have to follow a lot of regulations, a lot of areas to comply. If not, frauds will take place. When you have given superpower, okay, all power corrupts you, and absolute power corrupts you absolutely. So that was the reason with Nick Leeson as well. So I'm not talking about politics, but I'm talking about corporate politics. Right. Finally, Barring Bank was sold to Deutsche Bank for a nominal value of maybe 10 pounds, 10 sterling pounds. So this is what happened. How established you are, how long you have been in business is not material. Corporate governance is very important. Okay. I have given you some important video clips on corporate governance related area. In papers, this area is often highlighted. We need that. Now you, the youngsters, will be taking over the operations of banks and finance companies one fine day. Right? So you are trained here at IBSL. When you are studying these subjects, you are studying not only the subject area, but also why there must be rules, why these companies are regulated like this, why do you want to run companies like this. Suppose you are just handling marketing, then you don't like rules and regulations. You want freedom like Nick Leeson. And no doubt you can improve profit for a very short period. Now, when there's a bubble in the market, it's very easy to sell. You can do leasing easily. Vehicle price is going up. You can do pawning very easily. You can increase your gold loan portfolio very easily. But the problem is, can you sustain? Now, what happened in the gold market? In the gold market, you have only two sources. What is that? Either you have to mine or you have to recycle. That commodity is rare to that extent. Vehicles in Sri Lanka, once again, almost like gold. Either you have to import or you have to recycle. What is recycle? The banks and finance company will lend you, and when you don't pay, they will seize and repossess and sell it back in their vehicle yards. So the supply side basically from car sales and from vehicle yards. Now, when import is restricted, all of a sudden you find no vehicles in car sales, no vehicles in vehicle yards. Right? So supply side is blocked. Then whatever remaining within individual capacity, they can sell it at their own fancies and whims. Vehicle price bubbled up. But this is not sustainable. The moment moratorium effect is over, the moment vehicles are allowed to be repossessed, then vehicle yards will once again start to slowly input number of vehicles back to the recycle system. Then the vehicle price will slowly come down. You must have that ability to think what is happening in the market instead of getting the heat of the moment. All of a sudden you find, okay, it's very easy, the market is going up and we are making super profits. You must sense bubbles. We talked about bubbles, property bubbles, subprime mortgage bubbles, dot-com bubble. Okay, so whether in stock exchanges or anywhere, the bubbles can take place. All the bubbles burst. So at banks, what we do? We give loans against assets. All these assets can be a ballooned up bubble. If we give loans to these ballooned up bubbles without a proper LTV, it is not the customer finally gets into trouble, but the banks and finance companies. This is why it is important to study a subject like this. Okay, whether you are in a bank or not, you should know these different products. Okay, we do everything other than demand deposits. Whatever we do, we must study. For the scientist, you must have a lab. If you are a lawyer, you must have a library. Now, if you are in banking, it's always better to collect information and keep them. So in our era, that was in files and paper cuttings. But in today's context, you can everything scanned, or you can save them in e-world, e-documents. But gather them, analyze them. I think I have shown you some examples how we have done analysis on different companies listed in Colombo Stock Exchange. So we can predict, okay, Bimput, we predicted this is what and this is what. At this level, they will have trouble. Okay, so this is your ability. Then you must read some good books. I have mentioned certain good books like Ben Barnanke's book, Courage to Act. I have even given you some reading materials out of that. Okay. But so you have to get updated continuously. Make studying your passion, not a trouble. Okay. Then the final request: practice at least 10% of what you learn. That will make a change in yourself. The definition of education itself talk about change. But unfortunately, we find we study, but we don't practice what we study. We preach, but we don't practice even a slightest percentage of what we preach. We talked about venture capital. We talked about share market. We talked about different financial products. Okay. Now, how many of you have current accounts? Okay. I know if this is a physical class, when I say how many of you have savings accounts, all the hands go up. And I would say yes, if I go back in time tunnel and ask the same question from your parents when they were in your age, the same result I would get. All the hands will go up. In Sri Lanka, we love to save as kids, and we have savings accounts. Our adults will start a savings accounts and we'll continue that. And that is the only non-financial product for us. Then with time, we want housing loan and vehicle loan. And we end up our life with that. Right? But when you learn something, try to practice a little bit. Credit cards. We talked about credit cards, underpayment system. Then there are different thoughts on credit cards. Some believe that's evil. You must avoid it. but I would say it's not. Okay, there are enough benefits that you can take out of credit cards. Younger the you get into these financial worlds, the longer, in the long run, you will see a lot of benefits coming out of that. If you start up taking a credit card now, your credit limit will go up, and when you reach say 35, 40, you'll have a very good credit limit. And at the same time, it will help you to develop a disciplined spending pattern. If you start up insurance now as a life insurance policy, you may subscribe, you may pay a very small amount because you have a very long working life. Okay. When I started Janashakti, SLIC last year, my premium was 250 rupees per month. What is 250? Right. But that ensures me 15,000 return after I reach 55, and that will continue. Means what? The earlier you get into insurance, life insurance, the better and benefited you are. But most of the people looks into insurance only after reaching 48, 49, when they think, okay, my God, I must have something. Right? That's not. When you are young, when you have studied all these things, now try to practice a little bit. Remember, I'm not a stockbroker. I'm not an insurance agent. I'm not a credit card seller. Okay. So I won't get any personal benefit out of that. But I'm telling you, whatever you learn, start practicing a little bit. Then you will get the benefit for yourself. If not, what we really do, we pass exams for the betterment of the institutions. Right? That's good. But at the same time, you have to change. When I started to talk about share market, CSC, okay, and if you look at the situation of CSC now, how many opportunities you have lost. Okay, we talked about trading economics, right? So you go for trading economics, right? I told you can easily get information, unlike our era, right? Everything is at the fingertips. You go to countries, then we are in Asia. Under Asia, we move into Sri Lanka. Okay. Now, when you go into Sri Lanka, you get into stock market. Right. Now, this is the difference between May to September. Okay. So if you have been an investor or a trader, how many opportunities have you lost? Okay. Right. We are blaming for many. I have seen many negativity or comments on Sri Lanka by Sri Lankans itself. But how many positives have we lost? How many opportunities have we lost? Okay. Right. So that's what I have to say. That is on the practical aspect. Practice a little bit of what you learned. Right. My dear, we have completed the entire set of syllabus. All the subject areas we have covered. Some we have taken one entire session, say insurance. Some we have just touched upon based on the way they asked in past papers. However, we have completed the syllabus. We did questions because I know one important thing which you often miss is doing past papers. We have done past papers as well. Now I'm leaving the job with you, and I have to say goodbye. Okay, right. So your exam will be in January. Till then, you have enough time. So study what we have discussed. Read what I have given you. Get updated. Have a passion for what you do. With that, I'll end my lecturing session. Thank you. Wish you all the best.